This is a 7-carat emerald surrounded by 3 carats of diamonds, set in platinum. Joseph Barry stared at the ring, impressed. He picked up a jeweler's loupe and put it to his eye. It's really beautiful, but we have a firm rule here that I want $20,000 for it. Did you say $20,000? Yes, in cash. Diane was staring at her. Kelly Barry looked at the ring again and nodded. I think we can arrange that. Just a moment. He disappeared into the back office. Diane said, "Are you crazy? You're being robbed." "Am I? If we stay here, we'll be killed. Tell me how much our lives are worth." Diane had no answer. Joseph Barry came out of the back office, smiling. "I'll have someone go across the street to the bank and get the cash for you right away." Turned to Kelly. "I wish you wouldn't do this." Kelly shrugged. "It's only a piece of jewelry." She closed her eyes. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. It's only a piece of jewelry? It was her birthday. The phone rang. "Good morning, darling." It was Mark. "Good morning." She waited for him to say happy birthday. Instead he said, "You're not working today. Do you like hiking?" That was not what Kelly had expected to hear. She felt a sharp sense of disappointment. They had talked about birthdays a week earlier. Mark had forgotten. "Yes. How would you like to go for a hike this morning?" "All right. I'll pick you up in half an hour. I'll be ready." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. "Where are we going?" Kelly asked, when they were in the car. They were both dressed in hiking outfits. "There are some wonderful trails outside of Fontainebleau." "Oh? Do you go there often?" "I used to go there when I wanted to escape." Kelly looked at him, puzzled. "Escape from what?" He hesitated. "Loneliness. I felt less lonely there." He glanced at Kelly and smiled. "I haven't been there since I met you." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Fontainebleau is a magnificent royal palace, surrounded by sylvan forests, located southeast of Paris. As the beautiful, regal estate loomed up in the distance, Mark said, "A lot of kings named Louis have lived here, starting with Louis IV." "Oh, really?" Kelly looked at him and thought, "I wonder if they had birthday cards in those days." "I wish he had given me a birthday card. I'm acting like a schoolgirl." They had reached the palace grounds. Mark pulled into one of the parking lots. As they got out of the car and headed for the woods, Mark said, "Can you handle a mile?" Kelly laughed. "I handle more than that every day on the runway." Mark took her hand. "Good. Let's go. I'm with you." They passed a series of majestic buildings and started into the woodland. They were completely alone, wrapped in a greenery of ancient fields and storied old trees. It was a sun-kissed summer day filled with itself. The wind was warm and caressing, and there was a cloudless sky above. "Isn't this beautiful?" Mark asked. "It's lovely, Mark. I'm glad you were free." Kelly remembered something. "Aren't you supposed to be working today?" "I decided to take the day off." "Oh." They were walking deeper and deeper into the mysterious forest. After 15 minutes, Kelly asked, "How far do you want to go?" "There's a spot up ahead that I like." "We're almost there." A few minutes later, they emerged into a glade with an enormous oak tree in the center. "Here we are," Mark said. "It's so peaceful." There seemed to be something lightly carved on the tree. Kelly went up to it. It read, "Happy birthday, Kelly." She stared at Mark a moment, speechless. "Oh, Mark, darling. Thank you." So he had not forgotten. "I think there might be something in the tree." "In the tree?" Kelly moved closer to it. There was a hollow place at eye level. She put her hand inside and felt a small package, and pulled it out. It was a gift box. "What?" "Open it." Kelly opened it and her eyes widened. In the box was a 7-carat emerald ring, surrounded by 3 carats of diamonds, set in platinum. Kelly stared at it, unbelievingly. She turned and threw her arms around Mark. "This is much too generous. I would give you the moon if you asked for it." "Kelly, I'm in love with you." She held him close, lost in a euphoria she had never known. And then she said something that she thought she would never, ever say. "I'm in love with you, darling." He was beaming. "Let's get married right away." "We know." It was like a whiplash. Mark was looking at her in surprise. "Why? We can't." "Kelly, don't you believe that I'm in love with you?" "Yes." "Are you in love with me?" "Yes." "But you don't want to marry me." "I do want to, but I can't." "I don't understand." "What is it?" He was studying her, confused. And Kelly knew that the moment she told Mark about the traumatic experience she had had, he would never want to see her again. I could never be a real wife to you." "What do you mean?" This was the most difficult thing Kelly had ever had to say. "Mark, we could never have sex together. When I was 8 years old, I was raped." She was looking out at the uncaring trees, telling her sordid story to the first man she had ever loved. "I'm not interested in sex. I'm disgusted by the idea of it." It frightens me. I'm half a woman. I'm a freak. She was breathing hard, trying not to cry. Kelly felt Mark's hand on hers. I'm so sorry, Kelly. That must have been devastating. Kelly was silent. Sex is very important in a marriage, Mark said. Kelly nodded, biting her lip. She knew what he was going to say next. Of course. So I understand why you wouldn't want to, but that's not what marriage is about. Marriage is about spending your life with someone you love, having someone to talk to, someone to share all the good times and the bad times. She was listening, stunned, afraid to believe what she was hearing. Sex finally goes away, Kelly, but real love doesn't. I love you for your heart and your soul. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I can do without the sex. Kelly tried to keep her voice steady. No, Mark, I can't let you. Why? Because one day you would regret it. You'd fall in love with someone else who could give you what I can't, and you would leave me, and that would break my heart. Mark reached out and took Kelly in his arms and held her close. Do you know why I could never leave you? Because you're the best part of me. We're getting married. Kelly looked into his eyes. Mark, do you realize what you're getting into? Mark smiled and said, I think you might rephrase that. Kelly laughed and hugged him. Oh, baby, are you sure you? He was beaming. I'm sure. What do you say? She felt the tears on her cheeks. I say, yes. Mark slipped the emerald ring on her finger. They held each other for a long time. Kelly said, I want you to take me to the salon tomorrow morning and meet some of the models I work with. I thought there was a rule against. The rules have been changed. Mark was beaming. I'll arrange for a judge I know to marry us Sunday. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The next morning, when Kelly and Mark arrived at the salon, Kelly pointed up to the sky. It looks like it's going to rain. Everyone talks about the weather, but no one does anything about it. Mark turned and gave her a strange look. Kelly saw the expression on Mark's face. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a cliché, isn't it? Mark did not answer. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. There were half a dozen models in the dressing room when Kelly walked in. I have an announcement to make. I'm getting married Sunday, and you're all invited. The room was instantly filled with chatter. Is this the mysterious beau you wouldn't let us meet? Do we know him? What does he look like? Kelly said proudly, like a young Cary Grant. Oh. When can we meet him? Now. He's here. Kelly opened the door wide. Come in, darling. Mark stepped into the room, and the room became instantly quiet. One of the models looked at Mark and said under her breath, is this some kind of joke? It must be. Mark Harris was a foot shorter than Kelly, a plain, ordinary-looking man, with a thinning mop of gray hair. When the first shock was over, the models stepped up to congratulate the soon-to-be bride and groom. "That's wonderful news. We're thrilled for you. I'm sure you'll be very happy together." When the congratulations were over, Kelly and Mark left. As they were walking down the hall, Mark asked, "Do you think they liked me?" Kelly smiled. "Of course they did. How could anyone not like you?" She stopped. "Oh. What is it?" "I'm on the cover of a fashion magazine that just came in. I want you to see it." "Be right back." Kelly started toward the model's dressing room. As she reached the door, she heard a voice say, "Is Kelly really marrying him?" Kelly stopped and listened. She must have gone crazy. I've seen her turn down some of the handsomest men in the world, and the richest. What does she see in him? One of the models who had been quiet spoke up. "It's very simple," she said. "What is?" "You'll laugh." She hesitated. "Go ahead." "Did you ever hear the phrase seeing someone through the eyes of love?" No one laughed. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The wedding took place at the Ministry of Justice, in Paris, and all the models were there as bridesmaids. Outside on the street, there was a large crowd that had heard about the marriage of the model Kelly. The paparazzi were there in full force. Sam Meadows was Mark's best man. "Where are you going on your honeymoon?" Meadows asked. Mark and Kelly looked at each other. They had not even thought about a honeymoon. Mark said, he picked a place at random. "St. Moritz." Kelly smiled uneasily. "Yes. St. Moritz. Asterisk asterisk asterisk." Neither of them had been to St. Moritz before, and the view was breathtaking, an endless vista of majestic mountains and lush valleys. Badrut's Palace Hotel nested high on a hill. Mark had called ahead for reservations, and when they arrived, the manager welcomed them. "Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Harris. I have the honeymoon suite all ready for you." Mark stalled for a moment. Could we have twin beds put in the suite?" The manager asked tonelessly. "Twin beds?" Yes, please." "Why certainly. Thank you." Mark turned to Kelly. "There are a lot of interesting things to see here." He pulled a list from his pocket. "The Engadine Museum, the Druid Stone, St. Mauritius Fountain, the Leaning Tower, asterisk asterisk asterisk." When Mark and Kelly were alone in their suite, Mark said, "Darling, I don't want the situation to make you uncomfortable. We're just doing this to stop any gossip. We're going to spend the rest of our lives together. And what we're going to share is much more important than anything physical. I just want to be with you and I want you to be with me." Kelly threw her arms around him and hugged him. I don't know what to say." Mark smiled. "You don't have to say anything. Asterisk asterisk. They had dinner downstairs and then went back to their suite. Twin beds had been put in the master bedroom. Should we toss a coin? Kelly smiled. No, you take whichever one you like. When Kelly came out of the bathroom 15 minutes later, Mark was in bed. Kelly walked over to him and sat on the edge of his bed. Mark, are you sure this is going to work for you? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Good night, my beautiful darling. Good night. Kelly got into her bed and lay there, thinking. Reliving the night that had changed her life. SHHH. Don't make a sound. If you tell your mother about this, I'll come back and kill her. What that monster had done to her had taken over her whole life. He had killed something in her, and made her afraid of the dark, afraid of men, afraid of love. She had given him power over her. I'm not going to let him. Not anymore. All the emotions she had repressed over the years, all the passion that had been building up in her, exploded like a dam bursting. Kelly looked over at Mark and suddenly wanted him desperately. She threw back the covers and walked over to his bed. Move over, she whispered. Mark sat up, surprised. You said you didn't want me in your bed, and Kelly looked at him and said softly, but I didn't say I couldn't be in your bed. She watched the look on his face as she took off her nightgown and slid into bed beside him. Make love to me, she whispered. Oh, Kelly. Yes. He started softly and gently. Too softly. Too gently. The floodgates had opened, and Kelly needed him urgently. She made violent love to him, and she had never felt anything so wonderful in her life. When they were lying in each other's arms, resting, Kelly said, You know that list you showed me? Yes. She said softly, You can throw it away. Mark grinned. What a fool I've been, Kelly said. She held Mark close, and they talked, and made love again, and finally they were both exhausted. I'll turn out the lights, Mark said. She tensed and squeezed her eyes shut. She started to say no, but as she felt his warm body close to her, protecting her, she said nothing. When Mark turned out the lights, Kelly opened her eyes. Kelly was no longer afraid of the dark. She asterisk asterisk asterisk. Kelly. Kelly. She was jolted out of her reverie. She looked up, and she was back in the Fifth Avenue jewelry shop in New York, and Joseph Barry was holding out a thick envelope to her. Here you are. $20,000, in $100 bills, just as you requested. It took Kelly a moment to get her bearings. Thank you. Kelly opened the envelope, extracted $10,000, and handed it to Diane. Diane looked at her, puzzled. What's this? This is your half. For what? I can't. You can pay me back later. Kelly shrugged. If we're still around. If we're not around, I won't need it anyway. Now let's see if we can get out of here. Chapter 34. At Lexington Avenue, Diane hailed a cab. Where are we going? To LaGuardia Airport. Kelly looked at Diane in surprise. Don't you know they'll be watching all the airports? I hope so. What are you? Kelly groaned. You have a plan, right? Diane patted Kelly's hand and smiled. Right. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. At LaGuardia, Kelly followed Diane inside the terminal to the U.S. Airways ticket counter. The agent behind the counter said, "Good morning. Can I help you?" Diane smiled. Yes, we'd like 2 coach tickets to Los Angeles. When would you like to leave? On the first available flight. Our names are Diane Stevens and Kelly Harris. Kelly winced. The ticket agent was consulting a schedule. The next plane will be boarding at 2:15. Perfect. Diane looked at Kelly. Kelly managed a weak smile. Perfect. Will that be cash or credit card? Cash. Diane handed him the money. As they walked away, Kelly said, "Why don't we just put up a neon sign telling Kingsley where we are?" Diane said, "You worry too much." They started to pass the American Airlines booth. Diane stopped and walked up to the ticket agent. We'd like 2 coach tickets to Miami on the next flight out of here. Certainly. The ticket agent checked the schedule. That flight will be boarding in 3 hours. Fine. Our names are Diane Stevens and Kelly Harris. Kelly closed her eyes for an instant. Credit card or cash? Cash. Diane paid the clerk and he handed her their tickets. Kelly said, "Is this how we're going to outwit these geniuses? This wouldn't fool a 10-year-old." Diane started walking toward the airport exit. Kelly hurried after her. "Where are you going?" "We're going to Nevermind." "I don't think I want to know." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. There was a row of taxis in front of the airport. When the 2 women walked out of the terminal, one of the taxis pulled out of line and drove up in front of the entrance. Kelly and Diane got into the cab. "Where to, please?" "Kennedy Airport." Kelly said, "I don't know if they're going to be confused, but I sure am. I still wish we had some kind of weapon to protect ourselves. I don't know where we could find a howitzer." The taxi went into gear. Diane leaned forward to examine the driver's photo ID. Mario Silva. "Mr. Silva, do you think that you can get us to Kennedy without being followed?" They could see his grin in the mirror. "You came to the right party, lady." He pressed down on the accelerator and made a sudden U-turn. At the first corner, he drove halfway down the street, then sped into an alley. The women looked through the rear window. There were no cars behind them. Mario Silva's grin widened. "Okay. Okay," Kelly said. For the next 30 minutes, Mario Silva kept making unexpected turns and going down small side streets, to make sure no one could follow them. Finally, the taxi pulled up in front of the main entrance to Kennedy Airport. "We're here," Mario Silva announced triumphantly. Diane took some bills from her purse. "There's something extra for you." The driver took the money and smiled. "Thanks." He sat in his cab, watching his two passengers walk into the Kennedy terminal. When they were out of sight, he picked up his cell phone. "Tanner Kingsley. Asterisk asterisk asterisk." At the Delta Airlines counter, the ticket agent glanced up at the board. "Yes, we do have 2 tickets available on the flight you want. It leaves at 5:50 p.m. There's a 1-hour layover in Madrid, and the plane arrives in Barcelona at 9:20 a.m. "That will be fine," Diane said. "Will that be credit card or cash?" "Cash." Diane handed the ticket agent the money and turned to Kelly. "Let's wait in the lounge. Asterisk asterisk asterisk." 30 minutes later, Harry Flint was on his cell phone talking to Tanner. "I got the information you asked for. They're flying Delta to Barcelona. Their plane leaves Kennedy at 5:50 this evening, with a 1-hour layover in Madrid. They'll arrive in Barcelona at 9:20 in the morning." "Good. You'll take a company jet to Barcelona, Mr. Flint, and meet them there when they arrive." "I'm counting on you to give them a warm welcome." As Tanner hung up, Andrew walked in. He was wearing a boutonniere in his lapel. "Here are the schedules for the..." "What the hell is that?" Andrew was confused. "You asked me to bring..." "I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about that stupid flower you have on." Andrew's face lit up. "I'm wearing it to your wedding. I'm your best man." Tanner frowned. "What the hell are you?" And the realization suddenly struck him. That was 7 years ago, you cretin, and there was no wedding. Now get your ass out of here. Andrew stood there, stunned, trying to understand what was happening. "Out." Tanner watched his brother leave the office. "I should have put him away somewhere," he thought. "The time is coming." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The takeoff on the flight to Barcelona was smooth and uneventful. Kelly looked out the window at New York fading into the distance. "Do you think we got away with it?" Diane shook her head. "No. Sooner or later they'll find a way to track us down. But at least we'll be over there." She pulled the iComputer printout from her purse and studied it. Sonia Verbrugge, in Berlin, who's dead and whose husband is missing, Gary Reynolds, in Denver? She hesitated. Mark and Richard. Kelly looked at the printout. So, we're going to Paris, Berlin, Denver, and back to New York. Right. We'll cross the border into France at San Sebastian. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Kelly was looking forward to getting back to Paris. She wanted to talk to Sam Meadows. She had a feeling he was going to be helpful. An angel would be waiting for her. Have you ever been to Spain? Mark took me there once. It was the most. Kelly was silent for a long time. Do you know the problem I'm going to have for the rest of my life, Diane? There's no one in the whole wide world like Mark. You know, when you're a kid, you read about people falling in love, and suddenly the world's a magical place. That's the kind of marriage Mark and I had. She looked at Diane. You probably felt that way about Richard. Diane said quietly, yes. What was Mark like? Diane asked. Kelly smiled. There was something wonderfully childlike about him. I always felt that he had the mind of a child and the brain of a genius. She gave a little chuckle. What? The way he used to dress. On our first date, he wore a badly fitting gray suit, with brown shoes, a green shirt, and a bright red tie. After we were married, I saw to it that he was dressed properly. She was silent. When she spoke, her voice was choked. Do you know something? I would give anything to see Mark again, wearing that gray suit, with brown shoes, a green shirt, and a bright red tie. Her eyes were moist. Mark enjoyed surprising me with gifts. But his greatest gift was that he taught me how to love. She dried her eyes with a handkerchief. Tell me about Richard. Diane smiled. He was a romantic. When we got into bed at night, he would say, "Press my secret button," and I would laugh and say, "I'm glad no one is taping this." She looked at Kelly and said, his secret button was the do not disturb key on the telephone. Richard told me that we were in a castle, all alone, and the key on the phone was the moat that kept the world at bay. Diane thought of something and laughed. He was a brilliant scientist and he enjoyed repairing things around the house. He would fix leaky faucets or electrical shorts, and I always had to call experts in to fix what Richard had repaired. I never told him. They talked until almost midnight. Diane realized that it was the first time they had spoken about their husbands. It was as though some invisible barrier between them had evaporated. Kelly yawned. We'd better get some sleep. I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be an exciting day. She had no idea how exciting. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Harry Flint elbowed his way through the crowd at El Prat Airport in Barcelona and walked up to the large plate glass window that overlooked the runway. He turned his head to scan the board that listed the arrivals and departures. The plane from New York was on schedule, due to arrive in 30 minutes. Everything was moving according to plan. Flint sat down and